Okay, the live streaming is also set up. Hey, Josh, did you get any response from Vani? Should we wait for her or not?
Sorry, I had to mute. She's not online, so I think we should just go ahead and get started.
Okay, thanks for the confirmation. Okay, back to our agenda. Hey, everyone. I'm Feynman. I'm today's moderator. Welcome to the Notary Project community meeting. Today, we have 4 topics collected from the community. One is to discuss the blob signing proposal and also the release plan of the blob signing feature. This is proposed by E, and I have another 3. The second is to vote on the proposal for archiving the roadmap repository. This requires the org level maintainers to share their opinions. And also I want to discuss the notation enhancement proposal. I have a template drafted in the notation CLI repo. I want to see whether we want to have this template, proposal template in the specification repo or in the CLI repo. And last but not least, as we have seen more and more potential contributors who want to join this meeting, but in other time zones, especially in Asian time zones. So we may need to initiate a poll in the community to let others to vote on the schedule. We may want to have 2 different schedules to accommodate people from several different time zones. So that is basically the 4 topics that we have been collected from the community. Have you seen or you have any other topics which are not listed in the agenda items? How about Josh? Do you have any questions or especially the blockers during your onboarding process to the community?
No, nothing to call out.
Okay, so we can start from the first one. Yi, would you want to start with the first topic?
Yes. For the first topic is about the blob signing feature that we are going to deliver. So previously, I think several weeks ago, we discussed the release plan. At that time, we planned the blob sign for the notation V2, and we will start with the notation V2 alpha version first. But based on the review from the blob sign proposal, I would like to propose that we can work on the 1.4, the V1 release series first. The reason is that the current blob sign specification that we aligned previously when Pradesh, Meaning, and also Rakesh from AWS side, we had the blob sign, the Notary project specification in the main branch for blob related specifications, such as the signature format for blob, how the blob how the trust policy will look like for the blob verification, and also the signature file name. So with that, according to the review comments from the blob sign proposal, it seems that we may need to revisit the specifications. So in that case, if we plan V2 directly, even we can start from alpha, but we may take a long time to make it stable. And we basically cannot it is not that good that if we want to break, because we will have a notation v3, right? So with that reason, I propose that we change our plan. We will start with the 1.4 release for the blob sign, and if there is anything that any feedback we collected during alpha to the stable, even after stable, if we think there are something that we didn't, I mean, the design, the spec doesn't work for the customer scenarios, we have to break, then we can bump up the version to V2. This is more reasonable, and we'll have a good release management in the future. So I propose that we release blob sign with current specification on 1.4 first. Another reason is that if we are working on, for example, alpha version for a long time, even for a long time, and we didn't make any, I mean, the specification update takes more time. It is not good for user because they want to have a stable version to try out, to use, especially for production. So that if we owning, for example, release, for example, V2, alpha, or beta, but we cannot do a stable release in a short time, and the user, they will not try it, use it, then we probably will not get any quality feedback from them. This is another reason. Yeah, so this is the first thing I want to align with within the community, that we can plan 1.4 for blob sign, and we will do it iteratively, starting from alpha version first to the stable, and we will design based on the current notary project specification that we aligned before for the blob sign.
Thanks, Yi. Thanks for sharing the background. Any ideas from other maintainers? From the discussion and also the review comments of the blob signing proposal, it looks like we have different opinions on the notation blob sign verify commands and those flags.
Those I will touch later. So the first thing is I want to align on the release version first, but we can come back to discuss later, or the community can provide further comments after the community meeting. It's also okay.
Yeah, I mean, there are still some UX-related questions that are not deterministic at the moment, but there might be introducing a few breaking changes if we want to go with V2. Hey, Shui?
Yeah, so this proposal V1.4 does not conflict with the V2. So we still can have the V2 alpha first, and then backport the blob signing feature to the V1.4. So yeah, that's I want to mention.
So that's it is not a conflict, right?
Yeah, so basically we can still working on the V2 alpha and then iterate it, and once it comes to a beta version like more stable, we can backport it into the V1.4 beta and skipping the alpha stage.
That is another approach.
What's the benefits of keeping two releases, we will have a minor release and another major release in parallel, right? So what's the benefits of keeping two releases?
Actually, we do maintain two major releases, right? For example, when we are developing V2, we still maintain the V1.
Yeah, from the maintenance point of view, we will maintain both two major versions. So I'm thinking from the development and also the cost, the development cost. Will it being introduced more development cost if we keep our development work in two branches?
Not really. Actually, it costs more in V1.
Okay, I think one of the reasons that it costs more, it is because currently we are doing the cherry picks, right? So some block sign related work are on the main branch, not on the V1 branch. Okay, I think in general, we agree that we will have the blob sign on the 1.4, and we will cut 1.4 stable for the blob sign. And for the V2, I think it will take some time to become stable, so that from user point of view, they will receive 1.4 stable release with blob sign first. Okay, the second one is about the scope for the alpha. No matter it is the V2 alpha or it will be ported back to 1.4. I want to discuss the scope for the alpha release first. I think the alpha release can happen very soon because based on the review for the scenario one, actually we have a common we kind of agree on the scenario one, except one thing I will mention later. For scenario one is very basic scenario for the blob sign that user create a blob, for example, a spawn, and they use the notation to sign the spawn and generate a signature for the spawn, for example. Then after that, user can use any file transfer method to transfer both the blob, in this case, the spawn as an example, and the signature to another file system or to some web storage, and the user can download to their file system. And anyway, user will get the blob and the signature on the file system. Then user can use notation to verify the blob and the signature to ensure the integrity and the authenticity. So this general scenario are aligned according to the comments. It is just one thing that actually raised by Toddy, because in the proposal, when we want to verify the signature, we need to configure the trust policy, right? And currently, based on the Notary project specification, for the blob trust policy, we have a slight different format for the blob trust policy, and also we the spec define that there will be a separate file for the spawn trust policy. So that means in the notation configuration, directly we will have one for the OCI trust policy. We will have one for the blob. And in the proposal, in the proposal, I mentioned the new command notation blob policy command to handle every trust policy related to the blob sign according to the Toddy's command. Because we already have a notation policy, it is kind of confusing the user because we have policy command in two places. And this is one reason. Another reason is that if you walk through the end-to-end sign and verify, especially from the verify point of view, we have the notation third. We need to set up the trust store. And when set up the trust store, we actually use the same command as we used for verifying the OCI artifact in the OCI registry. For the blob, we still use the same notation third command to set up the trust policy. And then after that, suddenly we ask a user to use notation blob policy for handling any policy related. So this is kind of switching context, and the user may got confused because we already have another notation policy command. So I think from the proposal, I didn't do the update yet, but I'm thinking that we should, for example, for certificate management, notation cert, notation K, and also the policy command, we should use the one command set for both OCI artifact and the blob sign. So that's the something I want to discuss within the company, within the community, that I would like to propose not using notation blob policy. I want to propose using the existing notation policy, but with the support for the blob policies. I want to check if any feedback on this.
I have a question. So if we do not have the blob policy, how can users differentiate between a OCI artifact and a policy for an OCI artifact or for blob?
One option is that we can introduce, for example, notation policy. For example, I still want to have this initial notation policy initial dash blob, and with the parameter or flags required for the blob policy. And the user could use dash OCI, or by default, no such flag means the OCI artifact. So then user can add some other flags for the OCI related policy. So this is one option to use a flag to do the differentiation. But I want to, the policy initial command, that is, I want to introduce, which can save the efforts from user to look up in the document what kind of policy they needed to copy and create a JSON file. So I want to have this notation policy initial command to initialize the basic, to initialize a configuration that can cover the majority of the configuration for the user, so that the user do not need to look up for the policy, the policy JSON file from our document.
Yeah, I still remember the notation policy init command was brought up maybe when we start the work of adding notation policy related command 1 or 2 years ago. At that time, we had that idea. So I think this is still valid. It saves a lot of time to initiate a policy template for users so that they only need to modify on an existing template.
Yeah, the idea behind the initial is that user needed to specify the parameter that it requires, not only from their user case point of view, but also from the security point of view. For example, the trust identity, they should specify what will be the identity. If they want to use wildcards, they need to specify explicitly. Notation will not do that for the user. But anyway, with initial, user can have a policy ready to work for most of the cases. For some advanced cases, user want to refine the policy or do some customization, they can export the policy and edit the JSON file as they do today for blob or for the OCI artifact. So that's the idea behind that. Yeah, so I want to hear any comments on this. If no comments, I will go ahead to update the proposal using notation policy command for handling the policy for both blobs and OCI. And behind the scene, because we already have the notation, a notary project specification saying that we have a separate file for blob or OCI, that will not change. We can revisit this specification maybe for the next iteration. For example, for the stable version of V2, but for V1, I think we can keep the current specification not changed.
Any opinions regarding this proposal? It's about to propose a new command notation blob policy for both
No.
OCI.
No, a notation policy initial.
Oh, sorry. Policy init, yeah. To generate the policy template for both blob and also OCI artifact. If no concerns, I think you can go ahead and update the existing proposal.
Yeah, I can go ahead and update, then ask the committee to review. So that's the second topic, second point I want to discuss. So for scenario 1, with this change, we will use notation sign, generate signatures, and the user will use notation cert to configure trust store, notation policy to configure policy, then notation verify the signature. That is the whole story for the scenario 1. And I think with this, we can cut alpha release for the blob sign to support the first scenario. Then we can ask the user to give it a try, and we continue to collect feedback on this. Then for the scenario 2, I think overall for the scenario 2 is talking about the blob and the signature are distributed and published to OCI compliant registry, and they both stored as OCI artifacts, and the signature is actually is also OCI artifact, but have a subject field pointing to the blob as so the signature is as refers to the blob. This is about the scenario 2, and in scenario 2, it also mentioned the user can verify the signature without the need to download the blob first. This could happen on some CI/CD pipeline that before they want to pull this blob for usage, they can verify it first, especially for some big size of blob, so that user do not need to download. They just verify it. If pass verification, the blob will be downloaded for some usage. This is one verification scenario. Another scenario could be some legal team or the compliance team. They want to check whether the company have their application with, for example, Spawn, and it passed. It was, I mean, the Spawn was published in the OCI registry, and before the compliance team downloads the Spawn, they want to verify it, no matter it is against the signature in the registry, or they download to their file system and use notation to to verify it. Shiwei has a good comment. So actually, even before if we don't do anything on the scenario 2, so currently it is still possible for user to use ORAS, for example, to push the blob, the spawn file to the registry, then push the signature to the registry, then use ORAS to download the blob and the signature, for example, from other end, then use notation to verify it. So even we only support the scenario 1, but for the scenario 2, part of the scenario we already supported. That is through the ORAS to do the distribution and using ORAS to download blob and the signature, then use notation to verify it. So that means with our alpha release, we support scenario 1, but for the scenario 2, actually we also support part of the scenario that user use ORAS to do the distribution. One or two, I think 2 comments. One comment received in the scenario 2 is that whether we need the notation blob push command. Because currently we can leverage ORAS to do that. Why do we need to use notation blob push the signature? I think there are some discussion around that. One of the reasons is that when using ORAS to push, there will need some parameters that the user needs to figure out. For example, the media type of the signature and also the annotation for the signature, so that notation can know this is the signature actually generated for the blob sign, not for the OCI sign, so that the notation can differentiate from it, and the notation knows how to verify it. But Toddy has a good point that although those parameters, we need the user to provide input, right? And the user need to figure out what will be the input. But for the notation sign command, so there is actually another issue opened previously. For the notation sign command, it can output a structured metadata, for example. When we sign an image or sign a blob, once we signed successfully, we can have an output, for example, JSON output, and that output includes some metadata for the blob itself, for the signature itself. So that those structured output can be used by the ORAS tool to do another pushing work, or any other tools. They want to do some work, but they have this necessary metadata generated by notation sign. In that case, it enables the kind of how to say piping work that the output from notation can be used by other tools. So that could be more flexible. So that's that's the comment when I write. That's the comment for the notation blob push command that we do not even need the blob push command. We can have the notation blob sign command generate a structured output like some other tools they generate. Then ORAS just use the output from the metadata and construct the command for push the signature. That's another option. So with that, we do not need to have a new command notation blob push.
I have a question. So assume we was planning to introduce a new command, notation blob push. So the scope is to let notation push the signature to the registry, right?
Yeah, push the signature to the registry. Only the signature.
Okay, only the signature. So if we have that command introduced, will notation blob signing scenario still relies on a third-party tool such as Auras?
Yeah, Auras already provided this capability, and Auras does it quite good. So I don't think that big problem for that.
Yeah, I mean, if we assume notation blob push exists, will users still rely on an additional tool such as Auras to do the blob signing and the verification in the whole process?
If we have the notation push command, that's push command is limited to the based on
Signature.
current proposal, is limited to current blob sign feature function. So if user wants to do something else, for example, adding some other annotation during attach the signature, the notation push command will not have that flexibility. So that's another reason that why using Aura's command could be the best solution.
Hey,
Yeah,
Patrick.
Hi. What if I have two signatures for the blob?
two signatures.
Yeah, the current scenario only works for one signature per blob, right? Because it packs the signature with the blob into one OSI image and store it in the registry. So if I want to somehow resign the blob and have two signatures, what should I do?
In that case, user expect the second signature to be validated against, right?
Not exactly. Maybe both of the signatures work, or one signature works for a specific verifier and the other signature works for the other verifier.
What do you mean the other verifier?
Because different verifiers have different trust anchor, right?
Oh, you mean okay, I got your point.
So I mean, what if I have two valid signatures for one blob?
Yeah, that is the similar case as the OCI artifact, right? So currently, for OCI artifacts, as long as one signature passed the validation, we think the overall signature verification succeed, right?
Yes.
So for the
But
blob,
for the proposed Aorus scenario, it packs one signature at a time.
should we please?
So yeah, so basically I'm confused why we are talking too much about the registry for blob signing, because for blob signing, it's just saying that you are signing a blob from medium and then save the signature to the same medium, right? The medium can be anything. So it can be the file system, it can be the registry, it can be anything you want, right? It can be a file server, FTP, or anything. So the problem here is not just the registry. The problem also happens to the file system. I know the registry is not special. The registry we use for browsing is just a blob storage. That's it. So back to Patrick's question. So what if a blob has two signatures in the registry? It's the same as a blob has two signatures on the file system in the same folder. What will you do, right? You will verify one by one, and then if one succeed, then it succeed, right?
So the problem here is if you have two signatures and in the file system, it's already in the file system, right? Both of the signatures. But in the registry case, firstly, you have one signature, the first signature, and you generate it and pack with OSI image and upload it into the registry. And then I generate the second signature. How do I upload it into the registry?
It's just like the normal artifact, because here we use OCR registry as just a storage. It can be anything. We don't need to specify anything here. As long as the the storage tool for registry is just maybe you can use the ORAS. You can just pull everything down to the file system, and you can just verify as in the on the file system.
So let me ask this way. If I want to have the second signature, I will repeat these four commands that you mentioned in your comment.
Yes, you can.
Okay,
Why
then I
not?
have two images. Then I will have two images.
Yeah, that's super okay, because for example, if you are copying those three stuffs onto a maybe a thumb drive, on your thumb drive you will have another entry for the signature, right? That's three files.
So I'm going to have two images. One image have the blob with the first signature, and the other image contains the blob with the second signature. And when I do verify, I will call notation blob verify twice.
No,
No, yeah, actually,
really.
I need to do ORAS pull twice. ORAS
Yes,
pull
that's right.
twice and do one notation blob verify.
Yeah, that's right. So
Okay.
here, here I give you a mimic in the file system. So you have a blob in the in the file system, and then for example in maybe in a FTP server, and you have two signatures on the FTP server. So basically, you need to do SFTP or FTP get twice to get two signatures, right? You cannot get in one shot. Or you can just put them in a folder, and then you can get the folder in one shot. In registry, a folder can be a index. So basically, you can have an index and then bind those manifests together, and then you do ORAS pull that index, and you can get everything on your file system.
Okay,
So
so
so my main point is that a registry is just a storage medium. You can do anything in it, and the structure, the storage structure, is not defined by Notary. It can be anything.
yeah, I agree with that. What I want to point out is, standing on the verifier's point of view, the verifier has to know how many images they need to do ORAS pull. Because if there's 5 signatures, they will need to pull 5 images to their local file system. But the advantage of ETH's original proposal is the verifier will only do, they will only need to know one image, right? Because all the signatures are reference of the blob image. That's the difference.
Yes. So here I just an example. Of course, you can just upload the blob as an image and upload all the signatures as referrals. It's up to you. It's just the internal implementation of a storage, and that's it.
I think I can make a summary. So I mean, if without scenario, the second scenario, it could like what Patrick just mentioned. Anyway, blob signatures, no matter how many signatures stored in the OSI registry, and the user use OAuth to download all the signatures, then they specify the policy to verify it. It will work because it is still using notation blob verify on something on file system, right? It is no matter it is distributed as registry or other web storage. So registry is also a storage medium as Shui point. I think the point for the scenario 2, and why I didn't mention it will be in the alpha release is that we need to still need to iterate it. The point for scenario 2 is that the user do not need to download it. They just verify it before use it. So one case is that the spawn, for example, the spawn or any other blob is very big. They do not need to download it and verify it, and it doesn't pass verification, they drop it. It can verify against the registry before download. Another case could be Patrick mentioned. This blob has several signatures and associated with the spawn. Which means spawn is the artifact and it has, for example, 5 signature pointing to that spawn in the registry. So user do not need to download them, or user can verify those in the registry to achieve the goal. But this scenario, we still need time to explore it. So that's the reason that for now, we focus on the scenario 1. We focusing on the notation policy initial command and using the current notary project specification. And we have this alpha release, then we can play with the scenario 1. And it already supports what Shui mentioned for the scenario 2 case through the registry. And we can discuss the registry experience, the Patrick scenario of multiple signatures, and my scenario verify without the need of download. We can discuss those later on.
Thanks, Yi, for the summary. In terms of the registry-based distribution of the blob and its signature, I think one more issue that we need to think about. So assume there's a blob file pushed to the registry alongside with its signature. In this case, how can users differentiate that this is a normal OCI image or OCI artifact, or it is a blob file stored in the OCI registry?
Yeah, that's for example, if we want to support scenario 2 for the Patrick's case or my case, in this proposal, the notation push command will add another annotation, so that annotation can indicate it is actually from the blob sign. But if it is just used as the storage medium for distribution, it doesn't matter what annotation or without any annotation, because the blob and signature will be pulled to the file system, like the scenario 1.
Yeah, if there is not an OCI registry, I think the verifier need to pull the whole blob file alongside with the signature to the local file system and verify it locally.
Yeah. So I would say there will be still discussion for scenario 2, especially for Patrick's case and my case. But we can park that discussion for now. Let's focus on the scenario 1 and also the notation policy command. Then we have the alpha release out for evaluation the experience and collect more feedbacks. Yeah, that's my intention for the discussion for the first topic. I think we only have 10 minutes left. Okay, I think the next step is I will update the proposal according to our discussion, especially for scenario 1 and the policy initial comment. And for scenario 2, I will iterate later. Once I complete that update, I will ask folks to review again.
Thanks. Josh, for some context that we are discussing, so we are continuing the work of blob signing and verification based on the specs and also the proposals implementation that AWS folks did last year. You may be aware of that Pritesh, Rakesh, and Milian, who previously worked on this feature, but we still lack of some implementation and design for the end-to-end scenario in notation CLI. So this is what we are currently working on. You can take a look at this pull request for further details and maybe help us review it.
Yeah, got it. I've been following along the conversation and tracking that against what's in the issue. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah. Okay, we have 9 minutes. Yi, do you have any further questions around the blob signing topic?
No?
Okay. The second one is around the proposal. The intention is to archive the roadmap repository because we are no longer actively maintaining this repo over the past 2 years. If you're looking at the code frequency, there's the last active commits were 2 years ago. So that turns out that this repo is not actively maintained by us. And also our current maintenance for the roadmap and also those issues are being split into the individual repository. We use milestones and also the project dashboard, the project board for planning and status tracking. That means we will no longer need the roadmap repository, but there are still a bunch of issues open in the roadmap repository that may confuse users that we are not fully track the community status and also the roadmap in that repo. So I would propose that we archive the roadmap repository to avoid any confusion from users. I would expect our org level maintainers to vote on this issue proposal. If we can receive a supermajority of the approvals from our governance maintainers and also our org maintainers, we will go ahead and archive the roadmap repository. Do you have any concerns on the archiving proposal? Okay, if not, we can move on. I will also post the archiving proposal in our Slack chat and tag related maintainers for voting. Let's move on. Third one is to align on the direction of adding notation enhancement proposal template. So the context is I had a pull request to propose a proposal template to notation CLI. As you can see from this pull request, the idea is for those major features, especially for those non-trivial changes to notation CLI, we will encourage contributors to follow a structured approach to write a relatively formal proposal to the community. Then we can review on the proposal. If the proposal gets approved, we can start the implementation. However, I see Toddy have different opinion that the enhancement proposal is a little bit confusing, and why not we propose this enhancement proposal in the Notary project specification repo And also, what about the proposals for the SDKs and specifications? So I think because the enhancement proposal is just like a product requirement document, it is more common for end users, and also it is also common to write enhancement proposal doc for the CLI, because the CLI is designed for regular users, right? But SDK, on the other hand, which is intended for developers who want to integrate notation or build their own custom client. So I think at the moment, notation enhancement proposal is not applicable to SDK. For our existing Notary project specifications in the specification repository, most of them are also developer-oriented content. We don't have a consistent structure in the specification repo, and most of the existing specs are just technical specs, not designed for end users. The whole specification is not for end users either. So considering the CLI is more end user oriented, so maybe having this kind of enhancement proposal template will save a lot of time when users draft an enhancement proposal to notation. But I'm also open for that. I think going forward, we can also apply this template to specifications. Hey, Toddy, I see your hands up.
Yeah, can you see me? Sorry.
Yeah, I can see you.
Yeah.
And I can also hear.
I think if we are coming up with such proposal, it should be for the whole project, not just for a very small part of the project, which is the CLI. That is kind of my overall opinion, because I believe we should add that as part of the governance work, and we should say if you have a proposal, whether to change either the way we sign things or the way we actually implement plugins, or so I don't see that as part only for notation in the CLI. So if we are approaching this from the process that, let's say, Kubernetes uses with their CAP, then we should do it for the whole project, not just for the CLI. That's kind of my opinion.
I'm also good if we move the enhancement proposal template to the specification repo, so that it can be applicable to more repositories.
I am not talking about the specification repo. I think we should put it into .hub repo, and all the NEPs or whatever the name that you put there should be for everything that concerns notary project. MEP, notary project enhancement proposal. And this should be part of the .github, not with the notation or specification repositories.
So you are
This is
suggesting
kind of the process for the whole project.
I see. It's about the contributing process, what I'm understanding.
Yes, correct.
Any opinions from other maintainers? I don't have strong opinions on where we want to place this doc, but I think make this doc applicable to a broader scope of the notary project would be much more flexible. In this way, we don't need to replicate the same proposal in different repositories. Hey, Yi?
Yeah, I agree to put this to the .github as it can be applicable for the whole project. And a small suggestion is that once we have this document review, approve, merged, we can, in our contributing guide, mention this for proposals for some enhancement, big feature, if it is necessary to have more details, suggest user to follow this template to create the proposal.
Sounds good. We can add a link to the enhancement proposal, which is a part of the contributing process, especially when users want to propose a major change to the Notary project. They can reference the template.
Yes.
Okay, we are running out of time. If no more concerns, I will move the enhancement proposal template to the .github repository to accommodate the whole project. Last but not least, the topic related to vote on the community meeting schedule. This is because we will have more contributors from Alibaba Cloud who will be joining this meeting as well. They are located in the Shanghai and Beijing, and from China Standard Time Zone. They also launched their Alibaba Cloud notation plugin and their integration with notation recently. They published their documentation on their website. I can share the link later. But the idea is to have a vote in the community and let folks to vote on the different schedules. Maybe in the future, we will have 2 different community meeting schedule. One is for Asian and Australia friendly. Another one is for US friendly. Hey, Toddy.
We actually had a US friendly on once a month on Thursday, and I don't know whether that still holds as a meeting or whether that dropped from the calendar. But I assume we want to have a US friendly for Vani and folks from AKS. Sorry, I mean AWS now, right? And China folks are okay attending this particular meeting, or are they not? I'm not sure what's the proposal. So it will be good if we can actually put specific times, because in general, like when we see the times, people will know what they can attend.
Yeah, I'm going to use an application to put several time slots so people can vote based on their availability. I will post it in our Slack channel, and there will be an Doodle poll application, and we can have different options there.
Okay.
The original US-friendly schedule was not valid since 2025, and also for our current schedule, our Monday's meeting, this is not quite friendly for folks in Shanghai because it's quite early for folks in Shanghai.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we need to move it later in the day Pacific time.
Correct. But we will vote on the Doodle poll, and we will see what's the best time slot for people in different time zones.
Okay.
Yeah, but the good news is that we will have more potential contributors joining us from different time zones and organizations. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you, everyone. I will post the meeting notes in our chat, in our Slack channel.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Have a nice evening.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
folks.
Bye.
Nice day, nice evening. Bye.